Welcome, everyone, to the pilot episode of the Hanukkah Erotica podcast, where Malya and I review Hanukkah romance novels, of which there are many, a surprising number.
How many, Raizel?
Actually, there's 41, to my knowledge, 41 Hanukkah romance novels, and Malya and I are going to tackle all of them eventually, but today we're here to talk about one. But before we get into it, let's tell our listeners a little bit about who we are.
Great.
Who are you, Mal?
Well, let's see. I'm a 38-year-old woman living in Brooklyn. I'm a lawyer. I have 4 children, and I'm also. Can I say our relationship? Great.
I think you should. Yes.
Yeah. I am Raizel's stepsister. Our parents are married, and I think notably we met. I feel at like prime romance novel time in our lives, so to speak. Like just out of college, living on the Upper West Side, misadventures of our 20s. We had all those together. That was really like our cementing of our relationship.
I agree. I think that the time in which her parents got married is very relevant to our relationship and to these books, especially this one that we'll be talking about today.
Yes.
What would you say your relationship to romance novels is in general?
You know, I would say I'm skeptical of the genre in terms of its ability to hold my interest. I don't know, just, I guess maybe I'm a little bit of a literary snob. I tend to think, I see a romance novel, I think, it's going to be cheesy. It's not going to be realistic. It's not going to hold my interest. I'm a little squeamish about written out sex scenes. Generally don't find that so sexy. It's like a little cringe. I also happen to, I listen to audiobooks a lot. So like really don't want to like hear someone narrating that out loud. So just like,
it's
for a plethora.
Pretty disgusting.
Yeah. It's not cool. So like, I would say I generally shy away from the genre, which is why I was surprised that I was drawn to this one this subgenre, if you will, when you introduced me to it.
So I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Raizel. I'm also a 38-year-old woman. I live in New Jersey now, and part of what's happened here is that I've recently moved to New Jersey and kind of recently come into a commute. And on this commute, I have a lot of time to absorb and kind of consume content. Sometimes podcasts, often books, audiobooks. I like to read. And so this new commute, I feel like, is kind of a part of why we're here. But recently, I was tucking my daughter in, and I really needed a new book. So I pulled up the Libby app, which is the library app, and I love Libby. I love downloading books through Libby, and I was served 4 Hanukkah romance books at once. I had never even really known about Hanukkah romance, maybe vaguely, because Sarah Wendell, a podcaster I really like, I knew that she had written one. So I knew that there was maybe a Hanukkah romance book out there that I hadn't read. But all of a sudden I was served several, and the covers were funny, the names were funny, the descriptions were funny, and I started to screenshot them, post the descriptions to my Instagram stories, and people were really getting a kick out of it. So the next morning I started to... Yeah, you being one of them. The next morning that night I downloaded I'll Be Home for Hanukkah by K.K. Hendon, and I started to read it. And all of a sudden I was taken into this world. I realized that this isn't just your average cheesy romance. This is a very specific book about a very specific group of people that, as you mentioned, when we lived on the Upper West Side, we were fully immersed in this whole world that she writes about. So, Mal, when I started posting all those pictures of the book with my little commentary, you DM'd me and you said, "I found this series highly entertaining. As someone who went to Italy with a duffel full of tuna packets circa 2003, I felt they were really telling my story."
Oh my God, you printed my DM or you're reading it. That's so funny.
But the way that it spoke to you is the reason that I said, "Mal, we need to podcast about this. We need to have a book club about these books. People want to talk about these books."
I just couldn't believe that an author really had pulled out tuna packets, which I just felt like it's such an embarrassing detail of my own history, and had put it into a book. It it was a highlight of my day, I feel, seeing that.
I don't disagree. So yeah, I don't disagree. Should we get into the book a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into the book. So I guess one more question I had for you, Mal, though, was what would you say your relationship is to Jewish novels in general, Jewish fiction? I know how you feel about romance, but how do you feel about Jewish books?
I mean, I love Jewish books. I've read a ton of Jewish books. I love Jewish novels. I've read them since I was a little kid, like young adult fiction about, I don't know, whatever, Holocaust fiction, historical fiction, the whole gamut. And it's enjoyable to see something that you know about reflected in a story. It makes it more relatable and more engaging. But I'll say I'm also very eagle-eyed about inaccuracies because I know the world so well. And if there's an inaccuracy, it pulls me out of the reality of the story. And so I do feel, and I'll have a lot to say about that here, because I do feel like in this book, there are some little things that just don't quite hang together for me. And even though I feel like she did conjure a very specific world overall successfully, the little details that I felt like were inaccurate kind of kept me from being as fully engaged as I could have been. So I feel that's my overall relationship to Jewish books.
I totally hear you. By the way, I really relate to this. I get really frustrated by plot holes in general, in TV, in movies, in books, to the point that I'll have to stop watching something. There was that show Billions. I only watched season 1 because this one character lived. It was obvious that he lived somewhere like in Brownstone, Brooklyn, maybe Park Slope, maybe Cobble Hill, but he kept walking his dog in that park, Brooklyn Bridge Park,
Yes.
or like the Promenade in Brooklyn Heights. You can't live all the way in Park Slope and walk your dog at the Brooklyn Heights Promenade. And it was infuriating to me.
Ridiculous.
I couldn't watch it. So I really understand this. I really appreciate that. And I'm curious what you found here.
I actually had a similar experience. Sorry, I just need to relay this because I stopped watching
Please.
the show Suits after the first episode, even though everyone loved it and Meghan Markle was in it and blah, blah, blah. But if you recall, or I don't know if you watched it, but in the opening scene, he's like paid to take the LSAT for other people, and a proctor is like suspicious of him, but then he walks up and like sticks his paper into the middle of the stack, and the proctor's like, oh no, now I don't know which paper is yours, and so like, you got me, and then he like walks out with his smarmy smile. But meanwhile, like, I took the LSAT and they fingerprint you. Like, it's not just like a piece of paper you could stick in a stack. Like, and then I was like, forget it, I can't watch the show. This is ludicrous. So
the entire premise of the show, it was killed.
Yes.
It was over for you. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. Though I think that was an FX show, so I think it might have been on FX. The bar's pretty low, I think. I expect plot holes, but I totally hear you.
Right.
I totally hear you. They even fingerprinted me for my early childhood exams.
Yeah, exactly.
He wouldn't have been able to become a fake teacher. Okie dokie. So let's get into I'll Be Home for Hanukkah by K.K. Hendon. Here's the book description on Amazon. What do we think about this? I think this is super weird. Shayna Adler has never watched a single Hallmark Christmas movie, but she has a sinking feeling she has found herself in one. A big city girl visiting a charming small town full of Christmas cheer, last-minute business trip to North Pole, Alaska, of all places, attractive small-town single men, probably with a dramatic and secret-filled past, all wearing flannel, a strange plethora. Santa Claus? The world's largest. Suspiciously placed mistletoe? Repeatedly. The sinking feeling that she's perhaps falling for her new coworker while the spirit of Christmas or whatever is trying to have her learn lessons about life and love, which is odd considering Shayna is Jewish and honestly has no idea what's going on? Check. Wait, is that not how Hallmark Christmas movies go? What is happening? It's the weirdest description.
I like that there's one check.
One check.
Isn't check supposed to be like a list?
Yes.
Check.
I don't
Single check
understand.
after all thing.
A strange plethora? I don't understand what's happening here. I honestly can't even believe I kept going after I read this description, but I'm happy that I did. I did. How would
all the men there are no men with dark and secretive past. Like, that doesn't happen in the book.
It's not in the book. Those
Right.
people don't exist. There's no one that attractive small town single men, probably with dramatic and secret filled past. Like, maybe this was her brainstorm sesh before she wrote it, but that doesn't happen.
It's like a whole different book. It's so weird.
It's so weird. It's so weird. KK Hendon, tell us what happened there, KK.
I feel like
I want
often,
to
don't you
know.
feel like it's like maybe it's assigned to some like an intern or like this is like a student project or something to write these descriptions?
Okay, that's very generous though, because I feel like KK is self-publishing these books.
Oh, it doesn't have any unpaid self.
I don't.
There's no
I don't. I
staff
mean,
involved.
it's. I don't think there's a publishing house. I get the sense she's self-published.
That might be accurate. That's probably a fair assumption. It's not. There's not a huge like advances, not a huge cash advance market for books
I
like
suspect
this.
not. I suspect
Right.
not. But KK,
Right.
KK, we would love to talk to you. So if you hear this, reach out.
We have
We do want to
questions.
talk to you. We do have
Yes.
questions. We'd love to.
Yes.
We'd love to get you on the pod. But
Please.
but Malya, how would you summarize this book?
I mean, I guess it's like when you boil it down, it's just like it's a meet cute, basically, in like a very specific cultural context, I guess. It's like the story of how two people meet and start a romantic relationship, but those two people are like orthodox single people in their 20s who live on the Upper West Side. Very orthodox, I might add. And that's part of my like sort of these characters are like a weird mix of things that I feel like don't come together often. So Shayna Adler, the main character, is like seems very from like the people who I knew on the Upper West Side, myself included, modern. I would say they're modern Orthodox. Like, sure, like you might travel on a business trip and you might keep strictly kosher to the point that you're going to bring tuna packets with you, but you're not going to bring a crock pot to make a chullin. Because, like, you don't require a chullin for every single Shabbat of your life because, like, you're not 60. You know what I mean? And, like, you're not, I don't know, like, you're not ultra Orthodox. Like, it's a weird, I don't know there are weird character quirks that I just feel like don't really hang together.
Specifically, maybe that she davened on the way to the airport or something like that. She was praying there was some davening involved. Do you think that was unusual? Or the crock pot, cutting board, peeler?
Maybe it's just that she's like very crotchety. And I get that that's supposed to be part of her persona, but it didn't ring true to me. Like bringing a crock pot and a cutting board, and also like her extreme antipathy toward all things Christmas. Like, my experience is that like young Jews on the Upper West Side kind of enjoy a little Christmas celebration in the office because it's like safe. They're still like fully in the, doing the right thing. It's not them celebrating, but for the first time in their life, they kind of get to like participate in a little bit of like what everyone else has. So like, I don't know why she's so anti it. Like that again doesn't ring true to my experience.
Yes, I do think that the anti-Christmas narrative here is unusual and really just a character that we see in Christmas movies in general. Like, I think this is a holiday movie persona, a holiday book persona. Someone not into the holidays, and then they have to go to some magical holiday town, and all of a sudden there's this small town cheer, and they fall in love. Now, backing up, though, with what happens here, Shayna works some corporate job. She has roommates on the Upper West Side. She has a corporate job. There's some conversation with her roommates about how this guy got engaged, so a new guy moved into another apartment in the building. By the way, this book is called something about the girls in apartment 5G. I feel like I lived in 5G with Talia and Rebecca and Hindi. Like, or 51. I feel like that was our apartment. In my head, it's that apartment.
The best part of this book, and I'll just cut to this, I feel is conjuring that feeling of what it's like to live in an apartment with like 3 other girls / women, but really you think of yourself more as a girl, and you're all working like kind of entry level job. One's a teacher, one's a sort of amorphous corporate thing. Everyone's like having pajama Shabbats, and like it's like that campy, dormy, but like with a sprinkle of like from Judaism mixed in. I feel like she does a really good job of capturing that.
I agree. She really brought me back to that time.
Yes.
In a way that felt very authentic. Also, though, very clear, she is younger than us. We did not have WhatsApp groups. Honestly, we didn't even have text messages. Maybe we were chatting on AIM or GChat or something, but we
Yes.
didn't, I don't think we were texting. Maybe we were texting using T9, but that wasn't a way we were communicating. Certainly, we didn't have Ubers. Like, this whole thing that she's talking about just means that is still happening now, but she's definitely at least 10 or 15 years younger than us for sure.
Yes, yes, agreed. There was some BBMing if you had a BlackBerry, but I think that was
Exactly.
about
That's
it.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe a few years in, there was some
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
BBMing, but
Yeah.
so backing up, so Shayna Adler lives on. It doesn't. They never even say the Upper West Side, but Shayna Adler obviously lives on the Upper West Side in an apartment with her friends, and she has this corporate job. All of a sudden, she gets to work. It's Christmas time. She's kind of dreading it because she's like, I don't know, some Christmas Grinch, and there's a new guy at work, and her non-Jewish colleague is like, oh, he's kind of like you. He wears that little thing on his head. I think that's the first time we really learned that Noam's a yarmulke-wearing Jew.
Yes.
And it takes us
Also,
a really long time. Yeah,
all
go
the
ahead.
non-Jews don't know enough about Judaism to ring true for New York City. I feel like nobody says he wears that little thing on his head or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows it's
Yeah,
a
because
yarmulke.
yeah,
Like,
because any New Yorker knows.
right.
Any New Yorkers know what a yarmulke is. New Yorkers use the word schmear on their bagel.
Exactly. I feel like all the
Yeah, I agree.
goyim act a little too goyish here.
I actually really that makes sense. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. So anyway, so they get to work, they meet each other. All of a sudden, they're sent on a business trip, just the two of them, to North Pole, Alaska, where they need to spend a week together. And I mean, one thing I'll note about this book is, I'm jokingly calling this Hanukkah erotica, but there is nary a single kiss. There's nothing. I'm actually curious what you think about their connection at all. But I mean, I would say the main thing that they're really connecting about is their cultural references. But again, it started to make me think, Malya, about the Upper West Side and all those conversations and the laughter and everyone just, were people connecting because they sincerely liked each other, or were they connecting because they did all get these common kind of references? And one thing I will say about my background, which is different than yours, is I feel that I did not grow up Orthodox. You grew up Orthodox.
Right.
When I was on the Upper West Side, I was learning all of these things for the first time. I feel that having experienced life on the Upper West Side, having you and your siblings as my step siblings, my in-laws are Orthodox, right? Like I see myself as Orthodox adjacent. I understand all the references because of how many years the references have been in my life, that they've become a part of my kind of language. I get it all. But I also kind of look back on that time, and I felt like a little bit of an outsider, but I would see everyone laughing. I'll give you a good example. They get into this whole thing about songs that they learned in pre-1A.
Right.
Nobody outside of the Orthodox world knows what pre-1A is. What is pre-1A? Kindergarten?
It's like what is called. It's so funny. Yeah, it's what's called. It's kindergarten. It's what regular normal people call kindergarten. It's the year before first grade.
In the yeshiva or Jewish day school world.
Right.
Pre-1A.
There is no kindergarten. I think it's like nurse. Oh no, I think kindergarten is what I guess you would call pre-K here. Would be kindergarten, and then kindergarten is pre-1A. Why? I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense.
Right, but the very thought of it, knowing about it, kind of makes people feel close.
Yeah, it's like an insider thing. Yeah.
They feel close to each other. I don't think because there's even a chemistry. I think because they have these shared references in this place where they feel like outsiders. Their job and North Pole, Alaska, with the largest Santa Claus.
Yeah, they're having like the way I was saying, like that their apartment is like campy or dormy. I feel like they're having like almost like a summer camp romance, but it's freezing cold instead of hot. But it's like they're in this like immersive experience together where everyone is all like tra la 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 la, and they're the only two who are like, we went to pre-1A, let's make it cholent, like. And I feel like that is what's binding them together more than any actual anything in common. Like I feel like KK Hendon's attempts at like, I don't know, there's not enough time or interaction that you're seeing where you're really believing that they're bonding as two specific individuals. Like,
Exactly. I think that, yeah. I think that the idea that the reason that we started laughing about tuna packets, the history behind the tuna packets is that people who keep kosher can't eat in regular restaurants, in non-kosher restaurants, I should say.
yes.
And so when you travel, often someone who keeps kosher might fill their bag with food that is kosher, shelf stable, and filling.
Yep, there you go.
Right? And so he says something in the airport like, don't worry, I packed my duffel bag filled with tuna packets and protein bars. And I said on Instagram, there is literally nothing less sexy than tuna packets.
So gross.
This is a romance. Tuna packets.
Also, like, it's a packet, so you don't have to bring a can opener. Like, who even gets tuna in a packet? It's like it's even more disgusting. It's like a packet
it's just
you're
so
opening
vile.
up. There's tuna, like, sealed in.
It's so vile to me. But this is what connects them. This is it. These tuna packets. This is what connects them. So I felt like in this book there were a lot of these like if you know moments. If you don't know, KK Hendon does not play around or explain anything. She does not define her terms.
True.
She's not if you, which I actually really appreciate. She does not define her terms. If you read this because you get it, you appreciate it. If you read it and you don't get it, maybe you learn a little something. In a review I read on a website called the Smut Report, the author of that review, which I could share later, she shared that she found herself looking words up when she read the book, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do that. So
right.
what are some if you know moments that you thought were particularly funny or relatable in the book?
Well, I'll say like at the beginning, they're in this WhatsApp chat and one of them says something about like Erev, like calls it Erev Christmas, right?
Yes.
And then, so I like that because like everybody makes that joke, like Erev means like the eve of, and Jewish holidays start the night before typically. And I think most secular holidays don't. Christmas is one of the few where Christmas Eve is like part of the day. So it's like, Erev, so, we would say like the night before Passover is like Erev Pesach. So here, Christmas Eve would be Erev Christmas, and like everyone makes that joke. Like it's like that's
totally.
But I also felt like while it was an inside reference, the way that they dropped it, that was my first sort of crack for me because one of them says like Erev Christmas, and the other one says like you're killing me, as though like that
She's
joke
never
had
heard
just
that
been
before.
invented. But meanwhile, like that's like Jewish, that's like from dad humor. Like everyone, that would be
Exactly.
more of like a groan than a you're killing me. So like already it's like
it would be like, okay, Abba. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
It would be, I agree with you.
Yeah. So the way that it's delivered, like, but she's trying to capitalize on something that like, to conjure that like specific, humor. So that was good for me. I liked that Erev Christmas.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Let's see what else.
Another thing that another joke Jews love to make that was in the book was when they were it was Noam and Shayna and they were together in whatever North Pole, Alaska, and they were talking about like the halacha around Christmas. Jews love to make that joke, like
yes,
because for Jews, all holidays come with a lot of, first of all, traditions, which was another thing they said when they were at work together, and they were like, "Wait, what is the?" And they look at each other, and she's like, "Minchag is a tradition, right? What's the minchagim about? I don't know, Santa's elves or something like."
right.
That was definitely an if you know moment. But this joke about like this is the quote. He's like. Imagine if suddenly Jews celebrated Christmas, the questions they'd be asking would be ridiculous. What kind of tree is best? How big should it be? Are there different kinds of trees that are acceptable? Does something make a tree not kosher for Christmas? Shayna began to laugh. Shayna, you've heard that joke 1,000 times.
Totally.
I didn't even grow up Orthodox. I have heard that joke 2,000 times. It's funny the first time, and like I'll laugh at the shtick. Okay, fine, but it's like.
That's what I'm saying. There's something to me that's like, I don't know, weirdly like middle-aged acting about both of them. And maybe it's some of the dying from this humor coupled with the schlepping the crock pot. I don't know, and like all the coffee drink. There's something like, and maybe you're saying it's just maybe it's part of the trope of like the crotchety girl that finds joy in the holiday spirit, but there's something weirdly like, I don't know, not youthful
Matronly?
about matronly.
Yeah, like
Thank
matronly.
you. Yes, there's something matronly. And even like the way that like, you know, she's like she keeps talking about like his sweatshirt, like that's as like sexy as it gets. I feel like she wants his sweatshirt. It looks so comfy.
Yeah, that is the hottest it gets. The sexiest
really
it gets is the hoodie.
I really want that. That sweatshirt just looks so cozy. Like, you know, okay, Shayna. Like,
By the way,
on.
Shayna's middle name being Raizel, obviously I loved. Another for me, this was a very if you know moment specifically for me as an early childhood educator. Her roommate is a preschool teacher. And she goes on a date and she's WhatsApping from the date that the date is basically mansplaining to her that being a preschool teacher is a glorified babysitter. I have been on that date 7 times.
That was really good.
That was good. That was spot on. I have seriously been sitting on 81st in Amsterdam in front of some douchey Orthodox Jewish guy who told me, oh, so that's cute. So you're basically a babysitter, right? That must be fun. That's cute. And you just want to punch them in the fucking face. So I really appreciated that was in there. The preschool teacher roommate who was really hanging around a condescending date who she wanted to not hang out with anymore. So I really appreciated that. There are a lot of other if you know moments.
Okay. List them.
Obviously the crock pot is one of them. We keep talking about the crock pot, but the issue with the crock pot is if you want to have warm food and you're an Orthodox Jew traveling, there's very few ways to be able to have that, right? So to travel, this is why she was very specific. It's the crock pot, the cutting board, and the peeler, right? Because and a knife. She probably brought a knife.
Yep.
Crock pot, cutting board, peeler, knife.
Can you imagine how heavy her suitcase was bringing a crock pot? Like that is insane.
Of course, I could imagine. My in-laws bring a full kitchen to Orlando every Pesach. A full kitchen.
Yeah, but they're going
Instant
for
pot,
like
an air
a
fryer.
family. This is one person going for one weekend.
It's very unusual.
It makes no sense. It doesn't ring true to me. I'm sorry.
The smarter thing to do, because she kept talking about going to Walmart, because I guess Walmart's like a place where you can get a lot of things that might have kosher symbols on them.
Right.
You can actually just go and buy the crock pot there. Like buy yourself a new peeler. Don't schlep it to Alaska.
Cook stuff in advance, double foil wrap it. That would have been a good reference.
That would have been, by the way, a very good reference.
Maybe we're working toward writing one of these of our own, Raizel.
Okay, yeah, we could be co-authors on something like this because yes, double wrapping a 9x13 tinfoil pan.
There you go.
some kind of food.
Like that
and
makes
heating
more
it
sense
up on
to
a
me.
hot plate.
Like make it in your kitchen on the Upper West Side where you have all the kosher implements. Like I don't know.
Yes, where you have Kosher Marketplace or Fairway or Zabar's, wherever you need to go to. There's all different stores there now, but to be able to get your kosher products, make your food and double wrap it, schlep your 9x13s. That is a good reference. That was a missed opportunity, actually, KK. That was a missed opportunity.
Listen,
That was a good one. Yeah, no, I think that another really funny if you know moment is when they're both talking about their bubbies. Do you remember this?
Yes.
They're both talking about their bubbies, and then Noam's like, "Wait a minute, is your bubby a PhD who lives on the Lower East Side?" They realize that their bubbies are friends. Like they're doing bubby Jewish geography, where they realize that their bubbies are friends. I thought that was very funny and kind of cute.
That was cute. There's like a lot of. Also, I'll tell you another thing that did not ring true to me was like the over focus on laundry, like many copious loads of laundry. And then there's the whole thing where she realizes he stole her place in the laundry. First of all, like, do you relate to that? I don't remember like doing 7 loads of laundry in a row for yourself.
So this is very, very funny to me that you're bringing this up because I actually have no memory of doing laundry at all. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know if I maybe brought it to a wash and fold downstairs. I have zero memory of doing laundry when I lived on the Upper West Side in my 20s.
That's several years of laundry.
But that's almost 10 years of my life. I know I wasn't bringing it to home. Like, I know people did that, and it was a big eye roll for me. The
Right.
idea of, like, bringing your laundry home when you're already an adult, it was repulsive to me. I did
Yeah,
not
yeah.
do that. But I don't know what I did. I certainly, that shtick about the going downstairs and the cutting in line and the whole, oh, I'm going to run downstairs because the laundry room is free, that felt more college-y to me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I'm sure, honestly, KK and her friends probably do this. This is probably autobiographical in some way. Maybe not
Sure.
autobiographical, but I'm sure this is coming from some place of truth for her. And I
Yes,
feel like
yes.
maybe it exists in some of these buildings, but it's certainly not for us. No, I have no. It's funny you mentioned it. No memory at all. Who do we think KK Hendon is? Like, yeah, go
Right.
ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that there's it's like their bubbies are friends, and oh, they live in the same building, and oh, he stole her place in the laundry line. I don't know. Maybe this is the way I've never seen. I don't really watch the whole Hallmark Christmas movie genre has kind of passed me by. So maybe that's ripped straight from that sort of trope. But it's just like, okay, like how many freaking coincidences can there be? But I don't know. Maybe with two people on the Upper West Side, maybe there can be that many. Actually, maybe that's normal.
No, but yeah, I think it's a combination of maybe it's normal. I mean, think about this. Like, you meet someone, let's say like at a Shabbos lunch or something, and then the next week you see them at some kind of kiddush, and then, I mean, would you end up? I mean, it's unusual that the guy also at work, and also maybe moves into your building, but I don't know. Like, you do run into the same people a lot.
Totally, you're right. You do
More than anything. This is more Hallmark movie.
right.
than true, obviously.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Although apparently North Pole, Alaska is real. Apparently North Pole, Alaska is a real place, like with the biggest Santa Claus. I saw KK Hendon write about that. KK Hendon, obviously a pen name. Do you think that like her from parents know that she writes
This is like
Jewish
her
romance
secret
books?
outlet. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know, or is this like a whole separate persona?
But by the way, not only is this a whole separate persona, possibly, but there's a second persona, because here's what it says about her author. KK Hendon writes books where people flirt awkwardly, make out, dish out a whole lot of sass and ridiculousness, and live happily ever after. But listen to this part. Then it says something like, oh, I can't even find it, boo. It says something somewhere that she also writes books that aren't always a happy ending under the name Bronte Reeve.
What?
She has another pen
She
name.
has a second pen name for her unhappy books?
Yeah, like, I don't know if they're more sinister.
Wow.
I don't know.
Are they
I don't
also
know,
Jewish?
but I have to really look into it, because honestly, she did have a lot of books.
That needs to be followed up on.
And I will follow up on that. But the thing is, I was like, is this a KK Hendon podcast? Or could we just do one of her books and then talk about others? But there are other books of hers. And actually, there's that anthology I want to read, Burning Bright, with 4 short stories. And one of them is her one of her the short stories is hers.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
Also, by the way, someone named Sarah Agdern writes them. And we know her brother, Russ.
Sure do.
She is a Jewish romance author.
Amazing.
Yeah, I know. So maybe I bet we can get her on the pod, actually.
Who knew these?
This is what it says.
Authors were so close. It's really.
I know. This is what I found. It says she also writes books as Bronte Reeve, where people aren't as nice, and happily ever after isn't a guarantee.
Oh no.
KK is currently writing way too many books and is still waiting for the subway to run on a regular schedule. For author updates, book news, occasional shenanigans, and surprise exclusives, make sure to sign up for her newsletter. And guess what? It was a defunct website when I clicked the link.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't join the newsletter. I couldn't find her. She was basically ungoogleable.
Also, I don't even get it.
I don't know.
Don't the subways run on a regular schedule? Like, what is that referencing?
I don't know. It would have been funnier if she was like, she's still waiting for the laundry to be free.
Yes, exactly. Reference.
That was another missed
relatable,
opportunity.
Yeah. Right, totally. Should have had a callback there and just subway thing. I don't know. I don't get it, but
I don't either.
Also, the thing where she writes books where people make out, this definitely is not one of them. And again, like I said, one of the things that I'm not into about the romance novel genre is I don't want to read like some attempt at a sex scene, but I felt like could have used a drop more here. I mean, like,
a little more heat.
A hand brush, a something. You know, something beyond just like, can I borrow your sweatshirt? Like, you know,
Well, they didn't discuss anything about why they weren't touching. Like Shomer Negia didn't come up, but perhaps there was not even a brush because they were too frum to touch. Could they have been too frum to touch?
Yeah, they could have been. I mean, these are very, like, I didn't know people this frum on the Upper West Side. Like, these are...
Yes, you do. What did they do that's frum? Or what are you talking about? What are they doing that's so frum?
Well, first of all, like, davening, like you said, like, women are not just, like, I don't know, Orthodox women on business trips from the Upper West Side are not, like, stopping to daven, like, in a taxi. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. I understand that... I don't know, there's nothing so frum about the crock pot. Bringing it is not so, I know I keep on hearkening back to the crock pot, but it's like, it's emblematic for me of just like a character where you're, I don't know. It's not necessarily about like being so religious, but it makes them just seem like more old school.
Fuddy-duddy. Fuddy-duddy.
Taking everything much more seriously than needed. And,
yeah. And
I don't know, like.
Well,
I don't think I knew people on the Upper West Side who were like dating and not touching at all or even discussing the possibility of not touching. I mean, that's like just, you know, it's more Washington Heights territory in my experience.
I think you're right about that. There is another particular, I mean, is this from, tell me what this is, but she had to buy a regular menorah because she only lit an oil menorah. That was something that happened.
Yeah, I think that is from, that's like I think I even missed that. That's a very insidery reference. I think it is considered
very
like,
insidery reference.
It's more from to light the oil menorah because that's like, you know, the original menorah was oil.
Of course. By the way, no latkes in this book. Speaking of oil.
Sad.
There is a conversation about sufganiyot. There's a conversation about sufganiyot and the singular sufganiyah. Again, I really appreciate that she defines none of these terms. If you don't know, you really don't know what's happening at all in this book. When they light the candle, they say a freilichen. What is that? I don't even know this expression of freilichen lichtigen? Lichtigen?
Yeah, lichtigen.
What is that expression?
I think it's like lichtigen, like bright, like light, licht.
A freilichen lichtigen.
Again, I don't know. I feel like that's something that like your grandmother would say. Like it's... maybe they would know it, but like you wouldn't say it if you're just like on your own.
Like my father-in-law definitely says some of this. Yeah, totally. My father-in-law definitely says like a freilich in Hanukkah probably, but I never heard a freilich in Lichtigen. They want to say Ma'otzor. I guess they have a whole conversation about what song to sing because there used to be a song that they learned in pre-1A. There's that pre-1A reference.
Right.
Is that even still a thing? And Ner Rishon. What song is Ner Rishon? That's what they're talking about. This Ner Rishon song? Is this? Tell me about that Ner Rishon song.
Ner Rishon, Ner Sheni. It's like each candle, Ner Rishon, like one candle, two candles. It's like it's a kid song. It's like a kid song. Yeah, Ner Shalishi, Ner Revi'i. It's like it's like a very specific like you grew up from like in New York, in like a specific 15-year period. I feel like.
Okay, so she feels like, is it weird that every time I light, I have to sing the Ner Rishon song? And he's like, considering I don't even know what that is, I can't answer. She's like, it's one of those Hanukkah songs you learn in pre-1A. So it's definitely a New York thing. So you're right about that. He said, Noam says it's definitely a New York thing.
Oh my God, I am.
Just like you.
Yeah. I am Shana Adler.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And then she's like, what? Because no one else has pre-1A? And Noam nods. He goes, why is that even still a thing? I have no idea. She stuck in two candles and stepped back. Ready? So now they're lighting together. By the way, very intimate moment. They're in Alaska. They're lighting a menorah together. Like, that is very intimate.
True. It's like familial. Yeah, totally. You're right.
It's very familiar. Maybe that's the sexiest moment in the book. It doesn't feel sexy at all, but I'm just saying it had the potential to be. Again, missed opportunity. Then he's like, whenever you are. Feeling all sorts of odd, Shana made the brachos, lit the candle before passing the shamash to Noam so he could light his. Noam made the brachos, lit his candle, and began to sing. It wasn't the tune Shana used, but she knew it, so she joined in. Ma'otzor, however, seemed to have a more universal tune, and they sang that together too.
That's cute that they're singing together. That's a little intimate. You're right. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, then she goes, a freilichen lichtigen Hanukkah. And he grins. Thought you didn't speak Yiddish. I don't, but my mom says it after we finish singing Mouth Sore, so I say it too. Well, a Freilich and Hanukkah to you too. He shoved his hands in his pockets. And now we don't think about work. I don't know what happens next. But that felt to me, very frum, and also pretty intimate. Not sexy at all. In the smut report that I told you about, this website that reviewed the book, under heat factor, it says, they do not even kiss, my friends. And she's right, they don't.
Mm-hmm. She is.
There is no heat. There is not much of a heat factor. But there are all these insidery references, and for that, it is pretty amusing.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate how they're trying to create like the intimacy without traditional heat. I just thought it could have used she does again, like she keeps noticing his broad shoulders in the sweatshirt. That's like as far as it goes.
Yeah. As far as it goes, that she definitely thinks he's attractive. And also, at one point, she's like, I have to change. And he's like, why? You look pretty. And then he's like, I'm uncomfortable. Right. I say, but really, like, he said she's pretty, and that's nice. I'm sure she felt all sorts of things when he said that.
Right.
Okay, one thing that I think is, like, something I'm fascinated by is that on the cover, the title of the book is I'll Be Home for Hanukkah with an H. Now, you and I have talked about this. We haven't talked about this for 15 years, but we don't call it Hanukkah with an H. I grew up calling it Hanukkah, and you grew up calling it Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Most people, many of our friends and our families call it Hanukkah.
Yep.
But most secular Jewish New Yorkers, or really even people who grew up in the Reform movement, secular, probably some people who grew up in the conservative movement, they call it Hanukkah with an H. The title of this book is I'll Be Home for Hanukkah with an H. It is not called Hanukkah with an H anywhere in this book. It's called Hanukkah with a CH. That's her way of saying, she's saying it Hanukkah. But to make it mainstream enough or whatever for people to get the book, she calls it I'll Be Home for Hanukkah with an H? Weird. The title is H, but it's always written CH in the entire book.
Totally. Also, now that I'm looking at the cover, now that you brought it to my attention, the woman's skirt is like way above her knees in the image. There's no kippah or yarmulke, whatever you want to say, on the man's head. So I don't know. Maybe this was some weird like stock art and I don't know what. She outsourced creating this graphic, and then I'm not sure.
She did. She thanks someone for it at the end of the book. She thanks someone for the art. Someone made it for her, but she definitely did outsource it.
So maybe she sort of couldn't be so highly specific because she was relying on somebody else. I don't know. But yeah,
or maybe she was appealing. I think she was appealing to the masses.
I see. Right.
With the Hanukkah and the cute skirt.
Right. Hanukkah on the outside, Hanukkah on the inside. Interesting.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Do we recommend this book? Do we recommend the book?
Oh, I like this dedication. Did you see this dedication in the beginning? I didn't even notice that. To those of you who also wonder what partridges and pear trees have to do with Jesus being born. A freilichen lichtigen Hanukkah.
I did see that.
That's
there
funny.
There it is again.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Front and center.
She's funny. The thing is, it's almost ridiculous that we're picking it apart because obviously this isn't great literature, but I could never, ever write a book this good.
Totally. No, I recommend it. I thought it was fun.
It
like
is
you
fun.
said, it's not great literature, but it's also, it's not too. It was short enough. First of all, it's not like she's not belaboring this plot. Like it happens and then it's done.
No. Totally agree. Zero conflict, by the way. Zero. Was there a conflict?
I mean, I guess the conflict is sort of like the mystery of like, why has this mogul brought them up to the North Pole? Like,
right.
And then I think in the end, isn't it like it's revealed that he thought somebody thought she was the Christmas loving other girl that she works with?
Oh, right.
And that's why
Shannon?
they arranged this for Shannon, and who's like desperate to meet some, I guess, like cute Christmas loving guy. So like they created this whole dream trip for Shannon, but Shayna is the one who's experiencing it.
Oh, it went to Shayna Raizel by mistake. It was meant to go. I missed that.
I feel like that was the only thing that passed as conflict, but like,
Right, that was the only thing. There's no conflict between her and Noam.
no, zero. Right.
Typically, in a romance novel, there's a conflict between the lovers.
Right. But they're not even lovers
And then a
enough to have
rekindling.
conflict.
And then a rekindling.
Yes. It's just like,
Typically,
does he like
I
me?
mean,
Does he
even
like
like
me? And why is she
like
so
like
resistant to liking him also? She keeps being like, I can't think about him again in that sweatshirt. But like, why not? I don't know. He's like,
why not?
Right. What's the problem?
Get it?
It's great.
What is the problem?
Right. I don't know what
He's
she's holding
hot.
back from.
He's hot.
He's from.
He's age appropriate.
Yeah.
He lives in your building. Get it? What is the issue?
Right. Totally. She's like, I don't know. She's having a conflict with nothing. I guess that's a little bit of why it's not like such a page turner, I guess is the point. Like what keeps you coming back are the references, which are just like so spot on
100%.
that that's fun. But other than that, like you're not
The
like
references. I completely agree with
Yeah.
you. The references are what keep you coming back.
You're not there
At one
for
point,
the
they talk
plot.
about exactly. It's something like at one point they talk about something and he calls it the Shehechianu factor, like
I
having
saw
something
that.
for the first time. The Shehechianu, like having sufganiyot, or she loves peppermint hot chocolate or something, and he's like, oh, the Shehechianu factor. She's
Right.
like, I never heard it called that, but yeah, I guess it is, because she knows he doesn't have to explain it. She gets it.
Right.
She gets it because they're speaking the same language. And that is the language of modern Orthodox or not so modern Orthodox 20-something
Yep.
singles
Yep.
who grew up in this very specific way. And being, like I said, Orthodox adjacent, I really got a kick out of it. And the reason that I wanted to talk with you about it is because we really kind of came up in this time together in this specific time in their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
And
We
it's
experienced
there's
this
something
together.
there's something about it that feels nostalgic, even though it's shocking to me to say that we're old enough for the early 2000s to be nostalgic,
They're a while ago now.
but it's been over a decade,
Yep.
almost 2 decades.
Imagine experiencing them with WhatsApp and Ubers. I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
Or Instagram stories.
Right.
But yeah, people really, by the way, did seem to really connect with my Instagram stories. People came out from the woodwork,
Cool.
liking it, hearting it, saying, oh, I'm overly relating to this. I feel like this is about my life, right? Like there's something about it that's definitely relatable and funny.
Agreed.
Any more plot holes for you? Any more parts of it that felt like cringy or couldn't be?
I guess like they keep on talking about also like she keeps saying like I'm so not together. Like I'm not I don't have it together. And Noam, like you have it all together. And he's like, no, I don't have it all together. And you think Noam's gonna like first of all, I don't see how she doesn't have it all like what does she not have together? Like she freaking made a cholent in the North Pole. Like she's she's crossing her T's and dotting her I's. Like she has a good job. She's got, I mean, what's not to, I guess she's not married
If you
yet.
remember to bring a cutting board, right, maybe. But if you remember to bring a cutting board or a peeler to Alaska, like, you're good.
You're pretty good. And then,
Yeah.
but somehow she sees him as being so together. And he keeps being like, no, I'm not all together. But then you're like, I'm going to reveal that he's not all together. But I don't think he ever reveals anything. Oh, he broke up with a girlfriend. Like, oh, like, he's got,
v'shalom.
exactly. He's like, has a, like a scarlet A or whatever. I don't know. It just like, it feels like on the Upper West Side, like everyone's just broken up with a girlfriend. Like it's to be like so, I don't know, dramatic about something like that. Again, it feels like incongruous with life on the Upper West Side as I knew it anyway.
Right.
So that was a little
I think
bit
you're
of
right
a-
about
yeah.
that.
So again,
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
In
So-
the end,
yeah.
they get back to the Upper West Side.
Yep.
The work trip's over. And it sort of ends with them texting each other happily. Don't forget to light tonight, something like that.
Yeah.
What do you think happens after?
I mean, I think you get the sense that they're gonna, make a go of it, as they say. I think.
You think they're like married in Teaneck now?
Yeah, they live
Couple
in Teaneck.
kids.
Their kids are going to, they're signing their kids up for camp right now or whatever at the, at the shul.
Yeah, I think they live in Teaneck.
They live in Teaneck. she's still, she's getting her coffees at the kosher cafe, and he's like going to a minion in the neighbor's basement or whatever.
She kept that peeler though. That's still her Fleischich peeler.
You think so?
Yeah, I think like even though they probably registered for a better one, the peeler's very sentimental to them.
Got it.
She kept that peeler.
It's their peeler. Yeah. And maybe they both kind of have an affinity for Christmas now because that's what brought them together.
Right. They do some kind of Christmas tradition every year as they light their oil menorah. Yeah.
And maybe their kids are like, "What's up with Christmas, Mommy and Tati?" But
they're like, "Do we have a story for you?"
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's what happens.
I think that's what happens too. By the way, this podcast is brought to you all by Hanukkah Pong, a menorah-shaped beer kapong game voted number one best Hanukkah game by 2 Jewish New Yorkers. It's available on Amazon. I'm going to say that again. This podcast is brought to you by Hanukkah Pong. Looking for a game this Hanukkah? Hanukkah Pong is a menorah-shaped beer pong game voted number one best Hanukkah game by 2 Jewish New Yorkers, and it's available on Amazon. By the way, Mal, I wanted to tell you more about what that review said on the Smut Report.
Yep. Tell me.
At the very end, first of all, she gives a whole summary of it. I'm not going to read you the summary. We know all about the book.
We did that.
But she says, they're trying to keep the billionaire client happy. We'll skip that. And then also, Shayna and Noam are simply at an age where they're looking for a partner and bummed that they haven't found the partner yet. So there are plenty of external and internal things happening that pull Shayna and Noam together. Okay, maybe. I also really liked that Shayna and Noam's boss was supportive and like a good boss. So many office-related stories have a boss who's a jerk or unaware of the protagonist's struggle. So this was really an upbeat story all around. I didn't think about that at all. If you're a reader who really likes sexy books, you probably won't be satisfied with this book. Otherwise, I can envision it having relatively widespread appeal. From the perspective of a non-Jewish person who grew up in a Christmas-centric culture, I found Shayna and Noam's adventures charmingly funny. I'd imagine that for a Jewish reader, Shayna and Noam's "How did we even find ourselves here?" would also be pretty entertaining. I actually totally disagree with that. There's nothing about the "How did we even find ourselves here" in the middle of Christmastown, North Pole that I cared about. This story could have taken place in a bowling alley, that Union Square bowling alley. Like, I don't know that they needed to be in North Pole, Alaska. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. And I also, again, the degree to which they're like, what? A Christmas tree? What? Santa? It just, like, doesn't ring true to me. Like, no one cares that much. Like, I don't know. Like I said, like, they're not, like, Satmar Hasidim. Like, they know the world. Like, okay, they're on a business trip. It's Santa's house, whatever.
Totally. But, like, Mitch and I often find ourselves, like, weirdly getting it slightly wrong, like, on Christmas. Like, recently we were invited to a Christmas party, and the Evite was, like, dress up. Like, I thought I knew what dress up meant, and by the way, I did know what dress up meant, but Mitch was like, it just said dress up. That was very vague. What do you think it meant? I'm like, what do you mean? And like, it doesn't mean dress up like Santa. Like, was Mitch reading it as, like, does it mean get fancier? Does it mean wear a costume?
Wear a costume.
Why? He thought it was vague. Like, he was like, does it mean ugly sweater? Does it mean costume? I'm like, Mitch, I could assure you it doesn't mean dress like an elf.
That's so funny.
It means look cute.
Right.
But, like, we do slightly get it a little bit wrong sometimes. Like,
right,
so that is a little bit like, where am I?
True.
Anyway, then it says, but then it says, I will say I was looking up a lot of words, which is something I enjoy doing because I'm learning. But if you are not intimately familiar with Jewish-specific vocabulary, be prepared to look up words or simply not quite understand what the characters are describing because they're Jewish and understand what everyone else is saying, as one does. I like that the Smut Report gets, that there's no reason to define the terms. There's plenty of silliness, and there's some points where further development of a plot point or characterization would have been beneficial. It's third point of view, but all from Shayna's perspective, so Noam is a bit of a question mark, but it's meant to be a pretty fluffy story. Don't go into it expecting it to be something that it's not, and you won't be disappointed. I feel like the summary of that report is, if you're horny, this isn't going to do it for you.
Right. Well, right. I mean, that could be said really of the most experiences on the Upper West Side generally, I would think. But
if you're horny, this isn't going to do it for you.
Exactly. But yeah, I agreed. And it is charming that she doesn't. I just flipped past something where it just says Motzi Shabbos, like without any. Let's do that on Motzi Shabbos.
Yes.
Like everyone should know what that is. It's Saturday night,
Yep,
by the way.
everyone knows.
But,
Everyone knows what a
right.
minchag is. Everyone knows what Motzi Shabbos is,
Right.
Pajama Shabbos, the Shehechianu factor. It's cute.
And actually,
This was
I
a
really
good
liked
first-
Pajama Shabbos. Like, that feeling of, I feel like that was a very specific thing of being like, we're so exhausted. We need to rest all of Shabbos. The week was so tiring. Whereas meanwhile, like as someone who now has like 4 kids and like a real job, I didn't know what tiring even was. Like I was never tired a day in my life.
I can't believe how tired I felt in my 20s. I would sleep. Shabbat was so actually not restful that I would sleep through Saturday night plans often. That was like a thing I would do. I would wake up in the morning, like I was planning on going out and I just missed it because I was so tired that I just passed out. I would just fall asleep out of exhaustion. How is that possible? I am up all night with my baby now, and I wake up at 5 to commute into the city. How were we so why were we so tired? What were we so tired about?
I really don't know.
What were we so tired from? They're so tired. They need to be in pajamas for Shabbos.
It's really funny. But it's true. It rings true, and I appreciate that, KK.
It really does ring true. I agree. I totally agree about that. I do.
Okay, well,
so we're going to keep on...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, speaking of tired, it might be, might be time to
think it's
close
time.
the book. Yep.
I think it's time. We'll keep on going. There's a lot of other books to read. There's a lot of movies. Actually, not a ton of movies. There's some movies to watch. I'm excited to review them with you.
Great.
If there's a specific book you want to hear, listener, tell us. We'll review whatever Hanukkah novel and movie you're interested in. Molly and I will review them. So you don't have to. We'll watch and read them so you don't have to.
Yes, we are here. We will take on that important task. And wait,
so
what's our next? What's our next book?
Oh, okay. If you want to join our Hanukkah Erotica book club, our next book is called Burning Bright. It's 4 short stories in one. It's called Burning Bright by 4 authors. One of them is KK Hendon. I'm getting the exact title here. Burning Bright, 4 Hanukkah love stories. Hanukkah with a CH.
Promising.
And we're gonna read that next. It's very promising. I'm excited, and I'm really excited that we're doing this together. We are Raizel and Malya.
Yes.
Our audio is by William Levin. Our art is by Galdor. And this podcast is brought to you by Hanukkah Pong, available on Amazon. Good night, Mal.
Good night.
Love you.
Love you too.